What's up, everybody? Welcome to the stack. Welcome back if you've been here before. I'm neonmushroom, and today we have another Commander/EDH gameplay video for you guys, featuring, I'm pretty sure, decks you guys have seen before. And for anyone who watched Calvin's most recent upload, you saw that there was a bat in the basement. This isn't really important for the video, just an update to anyone who watched Calvin's most recent upload on this channel. We're recording these intros and outros on the same day, so the bat's just being quiet. That's why I can record it down here, and Calvin left to do like some type of shopping or something. But like somewhere over in that general direction, there's like a bat that got into the basement somehow, and it's like between the basement and the ground floor. Again, not important. I just wanted to share. I thought that's a thing we're dealing with today. Anyway, let's go ahead and see who's playing, what decks they're playing, and what opening hands they've decided to keep.
As always, if you like this show or any of our other shows on YouTube, liking, sharing, and subscribing helps us out immensely. If you like our content and don't mind that extra mile, you can always support us over on Patreon, over at patreon.com/mtgthestack. Comment down below any of your thoughts and feelings, and we hope you enjoy the show.
Alright, first up we've got Ajdin playing Purphoros, God of the Forge. This deck is optimized to take advantage of Purphoros' ability, where whenever a creature enters the battlefield under his control, it deals 2 damage to each player. He'll be keeping a 7-card hand, including Mountain, Foundry of the Councils, Goblin Warrens, Blood Moon, Capricious Ifrit, and a Norin the Wary. Next up we have Calvin playing the partner pairing of Tevesh, Szat, Doom of Fools, and Prava of the Steel Legion. His deck intends to deprive his opponents of resources between discard effects and board wipes so that Tevesh, Szat can overwhelm them with advantage in the late game. He'll keep a 6-card hand, including Urborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth, Exotic Orchard, a Jeweled Lotus, Teferi's Protection, Doom Foretold, Curtain's Call, and he has to bottom a copy of Smothering Tithe per the London Mulligan. Then we have Guy playing his Zacama Primal Calamity build. This is going to be a combo control deck that focuses on slowing the early game down with board wipes and then getting to the point where you can cast Zacama and use it in conjunction with a card like Sanctum of Eternity in order to keep looping the Zacama, generating infinite mana and killing the opponents through a combo. Guy keeps a 6-card hand, including a Zendikar Resurgent, Myriad Landscape, a Plains, a Forest, a Wrath of God, and an Explorer, and he bottoms a copy of Temple of the False God. And then finally there's me. I'll be playing Ezuri Renegade Leader. This is pretty much a straightforward elf ball deck. My goal is going to be to flood the board with as many elves as I possibly can and try to close the game out with something like a Craterhoof Behemoth. I'll be keeping a 7-card hand, including a Forest, a Wirewood Lodge, Arbor Elf, Elvish Harbinger, Elvish Archdruid, Beast Within, and Crozen Grip. 1, 2, flip. Well, Ajdin's on the play. Ajdin won the card flip, so he'll be starting us off. He'll draw and play basic Mountain as his land for turn, and tap it for red to play Norin the Wary. We'll get more into how this card functions in the deck a little bit later in the game. Calvin's just going to play an Urborg and pass over to Guy, who plays a basic Forest and taps it for an Expedition map, and then passes the turn to me. I'll play my own Forest and play Arbor Elf. This will trigger Norin. Mind you, the Expedition map should have as well, but it doesn't matter yet, so it's okay that we missed that. We'll move to Ajdin's turn for the second cycle of turns. He'll play a Mountain and pass the turn to Calvin. After drawing his card for turn, he'll play Exotic Orchard as his land for turn, then he'll drop Jeweled Lotus.
Oh, yeah. Fuck! He's going away.
He goes away.
After Norin's trigger resolves, Calvin will sacrifice the Lotus and tap 2 to play Tevesh, Szat, Doom of Fools. He'll make 2 thralls and pass the turn to Guy. Guy's going to draw a card, play a basic Plains, and tap for 2 mana.
Cast Explore.
Norin, fuck.
Just kidding. We'll draw a card.
Nah, son, I ain't exploring.
Guy will put Myriad Landscape into play due to Explorer, and then he will pass the turn to me, but not before bringing Norin back on Ajdin's side of the battlefield. I'll draw a card for turn, and then I'm going to deploy Wirewood Lodge as my land for turn. Then I'm going to use my Arbor Elf in conjunction with my mana to cast Elvish Harbinger, triggering Norin. I'll search my library for a Priest of Titania, put it on top of my library, and pass the turn to Ajdin. He will have Norin come back into play. He'll play Foundry of the Councils as his land for turn, and tap out for Blood Moon. This triggers Norin, he'll leave, and on his end step Norin will come back and will pass the turn to Calvin, who plays Hall of Heliod's Generosity as his land for turn, makes 2 more thralls, and then he's going to go ahead and pass the turn right back over to Guy. He'll draw for turn, play a basic Plains, and then he's just going to pass the turn to me. I'll untap, draw, and then I'm going to use all of my mana, floating a grand total of 4, and I'm going to play Priest of Titania, which triggers Norin, and then I'll go ahead and drop Sylvan Library, passing the turn right back over to Ajdin. Norin will re-enter the battlefield on my end step. Ajdin will draw, play a third mountain as his land for turn, and then he'll tap out for his commander, Purphoros, God of the Forge. Now, most of you watching probably already understand what's happening here, but I wanted to take a moment and explain it. We have Purphoros, God of the Forge, entering the battlefield. This is his commander, and he's had Norin for most of the game, starting from turn 1. Now, because Purphoros is in play, every time anyone does anything from attacking to casting a spell, the Norin will be exiled and returned to play at the end step. This happens on everyone's turn, it doesn't just trigger on Ajdin's turn. So every time that this happens, Purphoros will trigger and deal 2 damage to everybody, which is why Norin is pretty much an auto-include in any Purphoros God of the Forge commander deck that you might want to put together. Now, Norin was around when he cast Purphoros, so it will exile, and then at his end step, the Norin will re-enter the battlefield and trigger Purphoros, dealing 2 to everybody at the table except for him. We'll move to Calvin's turn, he'll draw, and then he'll sacrifice one of his creatures to Tevesh in order to draw 2 cards. He'll play Silent Clearing, aka a 4th basic mountain, and try to pass the turn to Guy. First he'll crack his map for a Sanctum of Eternity, a key combo piece in his deck, and then he'll draw a card for turn, play a basic forest, and then he'll tap for 4 mana in order to play Sky Shroud Claim. He'll go search his library for 2 forests, Norin will be triggered. Those forests will be Stomping Ground and Sheltered Thicket. When Guy tries to move to his end step, Norin will come back, triggering Purphoros, dealing 2 to the table. And then I'll untap and we'll trigger the Sylvan Library. I'm going to look at the top 3 cards, I'm going to decide I want one of them, so I'll put the other one back and I'll draw 2 cards for turn. I'll play Basic Forest as my land for turn, then I'll tap my Priest of Titania to make 3 green mana, and I'll play Elvish Archdruid. This will trigger Norin the Wary. After that, I'll tap a forest for green to play Heritage Druid. This will resolve, so I'm going to tap 3 elves that I control, in addition to another mana, to play Beast Whisperer. And if you're thinking there was a better way for me to sequence my turn, you would be right. I'll attack Guy for 2 with my Arbor Elf, and then Norin will re-enter the battlefield, having Purphoros deal 2 to the table, and we'll pass to Ajdin. Ajdin's going to start on a tapped Valakut, the Molten Pinnacle is his land for turn, then I'll tap 3 to play Hordling Outburst, which triggers Norin. That Hordling Outburst is going to have 3 Goblin tokens entering the battlefield, so that triggers Purphoros 3 times and we each take 6. He'll pass the turn, Norin will re-enter, and we'll each take a grand total of 2 more. Calvin will draw a card for turn. In desperate need of colored mana, he's going to sacrifice another Thrall to draw 2 cards, and he doesn't quite find it, but he does find a Soul Ring, more colorless mana. This triggers Norin, it exiles itself. At end step, Norin re-enters the battlefield, we all take 2, and then he's going to discard, and Guy will untap and draw his card for turn. He'll play a Sanctum of Eternity as his land for turn, and then I'll cast Anger of the Gods, triggering Norin, so everything but Norin will be destroyed and exiled because of Anger of the Gods. Norin re-enters and we all take 2, and then we go to my turn. I'm going to use my library to take no damage, I'll draw 1 card, play a Basic Forest, and Beast Within Tevesh Szat, who is in ultimate range at this point. Calvin's going to go ahead and make a beast. That triggered Norin, so at my end step, it re-enters and deals 2 to the table yet again. After that, we'll move over to Ajdin's turn. He'll untap all of his mana, and then he's going to use 3 of it in order to play Molten Birth. This is going to trigger Norin, it exiles itself, he's going to make 2 1/1s and trigger Purphoros twice. We'll flip a coin to see if he gets to put the Molten Birth back into his hand, and he does not, so it hits the graveyard. And then he's going to go to his end step, that's going to have Norin re-entering the battlefield and dealing 2 more to the whole table. With nothing else, we'll go back to Calvin's turn. He'll draw a card and play Mana Confluence, aka another mountain as his land for turn, and turn his 3/3 sideways at Guy. He has no responses, so Norin self-exiles, Guy takes 3, and then before we can move to the end step, Guy's going to cast Beast Within, targeting Blood Moon. This is going to have a beast entering Ajdin's side of the battlefield. That's going to trigger Purphoros and deal 2 to the table, and then on end step, Norin enters and deals 2 more to the whole table. Then we'll pass over to Guy's turn. He'll draw for turn and then tap for 5 mana to cast Mirari's Wake. This is going to trigger Norin, who will exile himself, and then he'll tap for 4 mana using 2 lands in order to cast Wrath of God. This is going to resolve, but not until Calvin has some white mana now, so he can cast Teferi's Protection. Phasing out of the game, this will save his beast and his life total. Then we're going to wipe the board, and at end step, Norin re-enters and deals 2 to both me and Guy. On my turn, I'll use the library, and I'm going to choose to take none of the extra cards because it would kill me, and I'll just pass the turn right back over to Ajdin, who draws his card for turn, and then taps out and plays Kazul, Tyrant of the Cliffs. This triggers both his commander and Norin, that's going to deal 2 to both me and Guy, and then the Norin re-enters the battlefield, killing Guy and I. Then we'll move to Calvin's turn. He's going to go ahead and play Scrubland as his land for turn, tap for 4 mana and cast Doom Foretold, which triggers Norin. Then he's going to tap for 3 more mana and cast Necrogen Mists. At his end step, Norin will re-enter the battlefield, and this is going to cause Purphoros to deal 2 damage to Calvin. Then we'll move to Ajdin's upkeep, where he will discard a card to the Necrogen Mists, he will sacrifice Kazul to the Doom Foretold, and then he'll draw his card for turn. He'll play Cradle of the Accursed as his land for turn, and then he's gonna tap out.
The Devil's Playground. Trigger Norin. He's scared of devils.
Oh, 4. Yeah, no. It doesn't matter. My other, yeah, I'm dead.
Purphoros win. Alright, I'd say that was a pretty good showcase for the Purphoros deck on this channel. Let's go ahead and talk about how everyone's decks did, starting with the least impactful and moving all the way up to the winner, or the most impactful, who are usually both the same person in most cases. I think the least impactful deck in this case was probably my Ezuri Renegade leader build. It's an elf ball build, and it kind of wants to commit to the board. There are a few ways to kind of dodge the board wipe issue that you can have up against a deck like the Zacama deck, which is a combo control deck. We'll get to it in just a moment. But I had to kind of play to the field because the game is moving so fast that if I didn't start doing something, I would get outclassed immediately. I was basically betting that guy didn't have the board wipe. I was pretty sure he did, but in that particular pod, there was no way I could kind of hold back. I could have played my threats out more slowly, but because, again, the pace of the game is so fast, that really wasn't a plan that I could commit to and live. I think I did about the best I could, given the spells that I had. There was that point where I could have maybe played the Beast Whisperer before dropping the other elf that I was able to drop. I think I could have sequenced my mana in a way where maybe I play the Heritage Druid first, but then I'm able to get like the, what's the name of it, Elvish Archdruid out after the Beast Whisperer. I could have accrued a little bit more card advantage, but ultimately I don't think I was going to win that game regardless of how I played it. And I didn't have a whole lot of impact other than actually casting the Beast Within on Calvin's Tevesh Szat, and Guy actually had the Beast Within, so it would have gotten dealt with before it went to 10 anyway, because Guy can't have his commander taken from him. That will just end the game for Guy on the spot, because he doesn't have a lot of ways to get it back. Next in order, I would say we have Calvin, who actually had a really decent opener, and his game plan looked like it was going to be executed fairly well because he had a Jeweled Lotus. I think the first Jeweled Lotus we've had on the channel, it was insane. He played Tevesh Szat on turn 2, but it was followed up by Ajdin's Blood Moon, and Calvin couldn't for the life of him find a single basic land, meaning he was playing mono red, which is really bad when there's no red spells in your deck, and his deck does have, there's not a lot of colorless spells in his deck other than the mana accelerant to let him cast his spells ahead of curve. So Calvin would have been much more impactful in the early game if he could cast his spells, but all he did was play Tevesh Szat, and both Guy and I kept a hand with Beast Within, so it was going to get dealt with the second it hit 10 loyalty and was able to ultimate, because neither me or Guy could handle having our commanders taken. We couldn't do anything. Neither could Ajdin, but he's got less ways to deal with the Tevesh Szat itself. And then at the end of the game, he kind of did do a final little push. He was able to cast that Doom Foretold, which interestingly enough can, in a weird way, deal with Norin the Wary, which is probably, by the way, if you're looking for an MVP of the game, I'd either go with Norin the Wary or Blood Moon, because Blood Moon, like I was saying, shut Calvin out of the game pretty hard and slowed Guy down quite a bit. And then Norin the Wary dealt like, I don't know, maybe, I don't know if I tracked it in the edit or not, but it dealt like most of the damage in conjunction with Purphoros. So there's your MVPs of the game if anyone's looking for them. At the end he cast Doom Foretold, the only card that I can think of right now in Calvin's deck that could actually deal with Norin the Wary. And then he cast Necrogen Mists. Didn't matter because Ajdin let both those triggers resolve and then proceeded to kill him with the, whatever the Devil's Playground I think is the name of the card, in conjunction with Purphoros. It was just tough, there was nothing he could do. We have Guy Scott playing his Zacama combo control deck, and this deck kind of, I don't know what the best way to explain the combos without breaking all the cards out, because there's like some critical mass, I think you need to hit 13 mana, but his game plan is actually really simple. If you can get to 13 mana and have his lands be any lands, as long as he has Sanctum of Eternity, and I can't think of the name of the card, but there's a land that deals damage, he's able to start playing as Zacama, bouncing it back to his hand with the Sanctum of Eternities, and then he kind of gets this loop going where he deals infinite damage with his mana base. And even if he can't hit that combo, the Zacama itself will gain him a ton of life, deal with a ton of problem permanents. That's why he's trying to be a control deck in the early part of the game, to keep everything, to keep the board aggression subdued a bit and give him time to develop his mana base so he doesn't just die. He did that pretty well. The downside is he wasn't even able to crack that Myriad landscape because of when the Blood Moon was cast, because Zacama's a 9-drop, so he could have just dropped Zacama and put himself out of lethal range from the Purphoros triggers. Pretty early on, the Blood Moon stopped him from doing that. At the end of the game, he played the Mirari's Wake. He was able to deal with the Blood Moon, but he was just a turn behind. Ajdin was able to kill us with Purphoros triggers, and even though Guy actually came really close to executing his game plan and just winning the game, there was always that threat there that Guy would just on-tap, windmill Zacama, and win the game. He was never able to execute it, but I'd say he put up a very good fight. Ajdin, on the other hand, put up the best fight. He opened with, I think, it's probably the best opener you could have in the Purphoros deck, which is Norin the Wary. Every time anyone flinches, Norin leaves and comes back at end step. This happens on everyone's turn, which caused Purphoros to deal a ton of damage to everybody. he just won the game off Purphoros triggers, which is kind of the deck's game plan. I don't know how many other outs it has, maybe like Valakut and just start to bolt everybody, but I don't think it's a very good game plan. It's all in Purphoros. It did the thing. We couldn't stop him, and I think it was really sweet. I'm really glad we have a game on the archive now where Norin is just kind of used as a rotary gun and just punches holes through everybody. We all died. That game only went to like turn 8. Calvin even had the Teferi's protection. It wasn't enough. Ajdin won the game. I thought it was sweet. I think that's all I have for you guys today. So I'm wrap this video up. Thank you guys so much for watching, and as always, I will see you next time.
What are you guys gonna be red sources for? You're not even playing a red deck.
Pass.
Yeah, pussy.